I couldn't sleep after lunch. The way she looked at me when I asked, that flicker of fear in her eyes, told me more than she would ever say out loud. I walked home slow, trying to make sense of it, but the closer I got to my house, the heavier the air felt, like I was walking into something that already knew I was coming. My room was cold when I opened the door, colder than it should have been in August, and I swear I saw the corner of my blanket lift like someone had just moved from sitting on it. I didn't turn on the light. Light makes them hide, and I needed to know if they were still here. I sat on my bed and listened. The house has its own way of breathing, slow and shallow, and after a while, I could hear it again, that soft scrape in the walls, like fingernails dragging over wood. I told myself not to think about her scratches, but I couldn't stop. They don't touch people without reason. If Thief marked her, it means Thief chosen her. I lay down with my shoes still on and kept my eyes open until the dark started moving. At first it was just the shape in the corner, too tall to be a coat rack, too still to be a shadow. Then it bent, folding over itself until it was low enough to crawl. I wanted to run, but I knew if I did, it would follow. So I stayed. Its head tilted, like it was listening for something inside me. And then, even though its mouth didn't open, I heard the words in my head, the same words I knew she had heard last night. Mine. My throat burned, my hands wouldn't move, and all I could think about was how to make it stop before it decided to take her completely. She didn't come to school. The empty desk beside mine felt louder than any noise in the room, like it was shouting that something was wrong. By third period I couldn't take it anymore. I walked out, didn't even bother making up an excuse, and headed to her house. The front door was locked, curtains drawn, but I could see movement in her room through the narrow gap between them. I knocked once. No answer. When I tried the side gate, it was already open, swinging just slightly, as if someone had gone through not long ago. The backyard was quiet except for the faint rattle of wind chimes, though there was no wind. Her window was open a crack. I climbed up onto the trash bin, pushed it wider, and slipped inside. She was sitting on the floor, hoodie pulled over her knees, staring at something on her arm. When she saw me, she didn't look surprised, just tired, like she'd been waiting for me to come. I pulled the sleeve back before she could stop me. More marks. Not scratches this time, shapes, curling into patterns that made my stomach turn, like something you'd see carved into wood at the bottom of an old church. They were darker than the day before, almost bruised. They're not going to stop, I said, but my voice came out smaller than I meant. She shook her head. I know. I told her we had to get out of the house, but she just whispered, "It's not the house." For a second I thought I saw movement behind her, tall, thin, and swaying, even though there was nowhere for it to stand. Then I blinked and it was gone, but the air felt heavy, pressing against my chest. She leaned closer and whispered something so soft I almost didn't catch it. "It follows me everywhere." I didn't go home that night. I stayed with her, even when she told me not to. We kept the lights on, though it didn't help much. The shadows still seemed to gather in the corners, thick and patient. Every sound felt wrong. The fridge hummed too low, the clock ticked too slow, like the whole house was holding its breath. Around midnight we heard it, the faint shuffle of something dragging across the floor upstairs. We froze, staring at the ceiling. It wasn't the sound of footsteps. It was longer, heavier, like something pulling itself forward with its arms. She grabbed my sleeve, nails digging in. "It's in my room," she whispered, and I knew she was right. I told her we should leave, but the moment I stood, the hallway light flickered and went out. The dark spread fast, swallowing the room until all I could see was her pale face. Then came the sound of breathing, slow, rattling, too close to be upstairs anymore. I reached for her hand, but something else touched mine first. Cold. Too many fingers. I yanked back, but they curled around my wrist with impossible strength, pulling me forward until I could feel the breath on my cheek. My mind screamed to run, but my legs wouldn't move. In the dark, something shifted, taller now, stretching up and up, blocking what little light was left. And then it spoke, in that same voice I'd heard in my head before, only louder, angrier. "Not yours." The grip released, and I stumbled back, crashing into her. The breathing stopped. The house was silent again. But the look on her face told me what I didn't want to believe. We hadn't scared it off. It had only let go because it wasn't finished yet. We didn't sleep. We sat on the living room floor until the first grey light crept through the curtains, both of us too scared to move, speaking only when we had to. I thought daylight might make it weaker, but the air stayed thick and heavy, every shadow still too dark. Around noon, she said she wanted to try something Shed read about. She pulled an old glass jar from the kitchen and set it in the center of the room, then lit a candle beside it. If it shows itself in the flame, we can trap it, she said. I wanted to tell her it sounded stupid, but the truth was I didn't have anything better. We sat on either side of the jar, the candle flickering between us. At first it was just light and wax and silence. Then the flame bent sideways, like something was breathing on it. Her eyes widened. I turned, and there it was, stepping out of the far corner, impossibly tall, its limbs bending wrong, head tilted at an angle that made my stomach twist. The patterns on her arm pulsed darker, like bruises blooming under the skin. It moved closer, slow but certain, and the candle shook in its own wind. "Now," she whispered. We both reached out, but before we could touch the jar, it spoke. Not in my head this time, out loud. A voice like splintering wood, "She's mine." The light died. Something hit me hard, and I fell, gasping in the dark. I called her name, but there was no answer, just the sound of the front door slamming open. I scrambled to my feet, ran outside, but the street was empty. No wind. No footsteps. Just the faint smell of candle smoke drifting out into the sunlit air. I stood there, knowing I would keep looking for her, knowing it would always be one step ahead of me, and that the next time I found it, it wouldn't be to take her back. It would be to keep it from taking me too.